All right, so tonight we're going someplace dark.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, I love these kinds of stories.
Me
The
too.
ones that send shivers down your spine, you know. And tonight we're going deep into the legends of the Wendigo.
Oh yeah, the Wendigo.
Yeah,
Now that's a creature that gets under your skin, and what makes this deep dive so interesting is that we're not just talking about some monster in the woods.
right.
The Wendigo is like woven into the very fabric of Algonquin culture. Various tribes across the northern US and Canada, their beliefs, their fears, their very way of life, it's all connected to this creature. And for this deep dive, our main source is going to be the Wendigo Wikipedia page.
That's awesome. I always picture these like legendary creatures,
Yeah.
as having like one fixed form, like you see it.
Right, a very specific look.
Yeah, but the Wendigo's a bit different, isn't it?
It really is, and I think that's what makes it so unsettling. You see, there's no single definitive image of a Wendigo. Some accounts describe it as this gigantic, emaciated figure, all skin and bones, but its hunger is never satisfied.
Despite its size.
Yeah, exactly. No matter how much it consumes, it always wants more. Then you have other stories that depict it as a spirit, almost an invisible force haunting the frozen wilderness. And sometimes it's portrayed as this horrifying hybrid, a twisted blend of human and beast.
So it's like the fear itself takes shape, and that shape can be whatever it wants to be.
Yeah, you got it. That's a great way to put it. It's like this primal fear-given form. And, that's one of the reasons why the Wendigo is so deeply embedded in the Algonquin psyche.
So where does this creature, this Wendigo, where does it live?
Well, it's not just a creature of darkness, it's a creature of winter.
Winter.
Yeah, its domain is the frozen north. Those places of harsh conditions, scarcity, the constant struggle for survival.
I see. So it's like the Wendigo embodies the harsh realities of winter itself.
Yeah.
The biting cold, the dwindling resources.
The constant threat of starvation. Exactly.
Yeah.
And for the Algonquin people, winter was a time when survival was pushed to its very limits, and the Wendigo, with its insatiable hunger for human flesh, it becomes the embodiment of that desperation. It's like a stark reminder of what can happen if you stray from the path, if you succumb to that primal urge to survive at any cost.
So in a way, the Wendigo is almost like a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
A warning against losing your humanity in the face of, extreme hardship.
You could definitely interpret it that way, but it's not just about basic survival. It goes deeper than that. The Wendigo embodies something far more sinister: greed.
Greed.
Yeah. Hunger is never ending. You see, it can never be truly satisfied. This speaks to a fear of excess, of losing oneself to those selfish desires, the kind that consume you from the inside out.
That's interesting because it suggests that the Wendigo isn't just a threat from the outside, right? It's like a reflection of the potential darkness within us all.
Exactly. And this is where it gets even more chilling. The Algonquin people believed that a person could actually transform into a Wendigo.
Wait a minute. So it's not just this creature lurking out there. It's something you could become.
Yeah.
That adds a whole new layer of terror to the story.
It does. It absolutely does. The belief was that engaging in acts of cannibalism, even in the most dire circumstances, could trigger this horrifying transformation.
I see.
And you can imagine the psychological weight of that belief, right?
Yeah.
The constant fear of succumbing to your basest instincts and becoming the very thing you fear most.
Yeah, it's almost like the Wendigo represents the ultimate loss of self, the complete surrender to those darkest impulses.
And the Algonquin people took this threat very seriously.
They did.
Oh, yeah. They developed rituals and traditions specifically designed to ward off the Wendigo and to reinforce their own values.
What kind of values?
Values like sharing cooperation and a deep respect for life, especially in times of hardship.
So they fought back against this fear, not with just, weapons or magic,
Right.
but with their culture, their beliefs. They actively resisted the pull of the Wendigo.
Precisely. They understood that fear thrives in darkness and isolation. But by coming together, by laughing in the face of danger, they reinforced their bonds and reminded each other of what it meant to be human.
And all of this was happening generations ago, right?
Yeah.
Long before, we had the internet movies, all the ways the Wendigo has crept into our modern horror stories.
That's the thing about the Wendigo. It's much more than a creature that goes bump in the night. It's a complex cultural symbol,
Right.
a manifestation of very real anxieties and beliefs woven into the fabric of Algonquin life.
Wow. Okay, I'm hooked. What else can you tell me about the legends, the tales surrounding the Wendigo? What specific stories did the Algonquin people tell about encounters with this creature?
Okay, so we've talked about the Wendigo as like this, embodiment of winter's harsh realities, the symbol of greed and, that potential for human transformation. But But what about the stories themselves?
Yeah, the stories.
What kind of tales did the Algonquin people tell about, like, actual encounters with the Wendigo?
Well, the stories, they're as varied as the creature's appearance.
But, there are common threads woven through them all. Warnings about the dangers of isolation, the consequences of greed, and that importance of community. And one tale that really stands out is the story of the Lost Hunter.
Oh, the Lost Hunter. Okay, what happened to him?
So picture this. A lone hunter separated from his group during a particularly brutal winter.
Okay.
Resources are scarce, the cold is relentless, and he's slowly succumbing to starvation.
Oh, no.
Desperation sets in, and he makes a fateful decision.
I bet he resorts to cannibalism.
You got it. Driven by that primal urge to survive, he consumes the flesh of another human.
Well,
And in that moment, he crosses a line, violating a sacred taboo.
Yeah.
And, the act itself opens a door. It's like inviting the Wendigo spirit into his very being.
so it's not just about the physical act of consuming human flesh. It's about the transgression,
Right.
breaking this fundamental moral law.
Exactly. The story serves as a stark warning against, succumbing to our darkest impulses.
Yeah.
Even in the face of unimaginable hardship, the hunter, in his desperation, loses sight of his humanity and becomes the very creature he feared.
It's like a twisted kind of poetry, isn't it?
It really is. His hunger, now insatiable, his spirit twisted and corrupted.
That's a chilling reminder that sometimes the greatest threat isn't the monsters lurking in the shadows, but the monsters we risk becoming.
Right.
And the Wendigo in this story becomes like the embodiment of that internal transformation, the physical manifestation of our moral downfall.
And remember how we talked about the Wendigo's connection to winter?
Yeah.
To that harshness of the natural world?
Yeah.
Well, some legends take it a step further. They claim that the Wendigo can actually manipulate its environment to amplify the fear and isolation of its victims.
So it's not just a physical threat. It has this psychological element preying on the minds of its victims.
Exactly. There are stories of the Wendigo calling out to people who are lost in the wilderness, using their names, mimicking the voices of loved ones.
Oh, wow.
Imagine being alone in the frozen woods, hearing a familiar voice calling your name, luring you deeper and deeper into the darkness.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
That's a level of psychological warfare I hadn't even considered. Like, it's playing on your deepest fears, your longing for connection, and twisting it into a weapon against you.
It is. And this ties into another aspect of the Wendigo that we've talked about, that inconsistent form.
Right.
Sometimes it's a giant monster, other times a spirit, sometimes this grotesque hybrid.
Yeah.
This makes it even harder to pin down, to rationalize.
So the fear becomes amplified because you never know what you're truly dealing with.
Right. It could be anything, anywhere. It almost becomes an extension of the wilderness itself. Unpredictable, unknowable.
That's where the true power of the myth lies, I think. Tapping into that primal fear of the unknown, the things that go bump in the night. The Wendigo becomes like a symbol for all those dangers that lurk just beyond the firelight, both real and imagined.
Exactly.
But the Algonquin people, they had ways to protect themselves from the Wendigo, right? They weren't just passively accepting their fate.
Oh, absolutely. They had their rituals, their stories, those strong community bonds to combat the Wendigo's influence, but some legends suggest there were more direct methods of defense ways to actually fight back against the creature.
Oh, really?
Right.
Like what? Special weapons? Certain herbs? Magic incantations?
While those elements might exist in some variations, the most common defense against the Wendigo in many stories involves fire.
Fire.
Yeah.
That makes sense considering, its connection to winter and ice.
Exactly. Fire represents warmth, light, community. It's the antithesis of everything the Wendigo embodies. Some legends even describe the Wendigo's heart as this lump of ice, suggesting that only fire can truly destroy it.
So fire isn't just a practical tool for warmth and light, right? It's a symbol of hope,
Yeah,
of resistance against the darkness and despair that the Wendigo represents.
exactly. And this brings us back to the idea of the Wendigo as this reflection of our internal struggles. If the Wendigo embodies greed, isolation, the loss of humanity, then fire represents the opposite, compassion, community, and the preservation of our better selves.
It's like a battle between our inner demons and our better angels, played out on the stage of Algonquin folklore.
And that battle, that struggle within ourselves, is something we can all relate to, even centuries after these stories were first told.
It's amazing how much depth and complexity we've uncovered from what started as a simple question about monster stories.
Right.
There's so much more to the Wendigo than just a scary creature in the woods.
And we're not even done yet. Remember, we touched on the Wendigo's influence on modern culture.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's a whole other rabbit hole to explore.
Okay, you've definitely piqued my curiosity. Let's delve into how this creature from ancient folklore has managed to capture our imaginations in the modern world. All right, so we're back and ready to explore how this creature, born from the depths of Algonquin folklore, has managed to find its way into our modern world.
You know, it's a testament to the power of a good story, isn't it? The Wendigo, it's transcended its cultural origins and become like this universal symbol of horror.
Right.
A creature that haunts our imaginations even today.
And it's not just campfire tales anymore, right? I mean, the Wendigo, it's in literature, film, video games. This creature has a real knack for staying relevant.
It really does. From classic literature to modern horror films, the Wendigo keeps popping up. Each interpretation adding another layer to this already complex creature. You mentioned literature earlier, and one of the most notable examples, I think, is Algernon Blackwood's short story, The Wendigo.
Oh yeah, the Wendigo.
A chilling tale set in the Canadian wilderness. It just perfectly captures the atmosphere of dread, the psychological terror of encountering this creature.
It's a classic for sure.
Yeah.
And then of course you have Stephen King.
Oh yes, the master.
You know, the master of weaving folklore into his terrifying tales. His novel, Pet Sematary, features a particularly memorable version of the Wendigo.
King has this way of tapping into our deepest fears, and his Wendigo, it's no exception. It's a reminder that sometimes the things we bury, they come back in ways we never expected.
It's like the Wendigo becomes this manifestation of our repressed anxieties.
Right.
The things we try to hide from but can never truly escape.
Exactly.
And it's not just books.
Yeah.
Think about shows like Supernatural and Hannibal, both of which have featured the Wendigo in their own unique ways.
Oh yeah. Supernatural uses the Wendigo in a more traditional Monster of the Week format, while Hannibal dives deeper into those psychological aspects,
Right.
linking the creature to themes of cannibalism, the darkness within.
It's fascinating how each interpretation kind of highlights a different facet of the Wendigo myth, right?
Yeah.
Some focus on that physical threat, that primal hunger. Others explore the psychological torment, the slow descent into madness.
Exactly, but they all tap into that same core fear, the loss of self, the potential for darkness to consume us. And I think that's why the Wendigo continues to resonate with audiences today. You know, in a world filled with anxieties about climate change, societal collapse, the potential for human violence, the Wendigo, it represents those fears in a very tangible, visceral way.
You know, we've explored the Wendigo's origins, its symbolism, its presence in both ancient and modern storytelling. But for me, the most compelling aspect of this creature is the question it poses to each of us. What choices would we make in the face of unimaginable hardship?
Right.
Would we cling to our humanity, or would we succumb to the darkness within?
It's a question that has haunted humanity since the dawn of time. And the Wendigo, with its chilling blend of monster and morality tale, it forces us to confront that question head on. It's a reminder that that line between human and monster is often a thin one, and the choices we make, especially in times of desperation, that can have profound consequences.
So what can we take away from this deep dive? What can the Wendigo teach us about ourselves and the world around us?
I think the most important lesson is that the Wendigo isn't just some creature lurking in the shadows, you know? It's a reflection of our own potential for darkness. A reminder that even in the coldest, darkest nights, we have a choice. We can choose compassion over cruelty, cooperation over isolation, and hope over despair.
So it's about recognizing the Wendigo not just as a monster to be feared, but as a warning sign. All right, a challenge to be our best selves, even when facing our worst nightmares.
Exactly. The Wendigo. It's a story that has been told and retold for generations, and each telling is a chance for us to examine our own hearts, to confront those shadows within, and to choose the path of light.
So the next time you feel that chill of a winter's night, or you find yourself wrestling with your own inner demons, remember the Wendigo. Let his story be a reminder of the power of choice, the importance of community, and that enduring strength of the human spirit.
Until next time, stay warm, stay connected, and stay curious, but be wary of the shadows. For the Wendigo is always listening.